Welcome to the G5 Huddle. The College Huddle is the largest fan-led college sports podcast community on the internet. The College Huddle offers its members a network of other podcasts and content creators to work with, giving our audiences more in-depth content. If you're interested in more college football coverage, then I highly recommend that you go and follow the College Huddle on X at College Huddle, our YouTube channel at the College Huddle Podcast, and visit the website, thecollegehuddle.com, where you'll find articles and information from our 70-plus college athletic-focused podcasts. And hey, I'm out there writing some stuff about Justice and I are doing our Worker Bee series with the G5 Hive, putting those into transcripts. They're down to like 3-minute reads or so. There, you can go catch those on the website. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. All right. And if you're listening to us in podcast form, please leave a rate and review. I am Luke. I am joined by my co-host, Justice. We are excited to be back and bring you the G5 college football content that you love each and every week. Welcome, Justice.
What's going on, man? Storming here, but and I know you went and visited some family over the weekend. I had a pretty exciting day yesterday. Me and my children went fishing with my dad, and twice the prop got it got the line caught in the prop, the fishing line. And so my dad jumped in the water twice, got it out. The second time was actually really scary. We were near a bridge. He didn't want to he couldn't turn the engine on because he didn't want to mess the seals up on the prop. He's in the water. And we get probably within 4 feet of the pylons from the bridge. And all I really had was a gaff, and I'm using the gaff trying to push us off the pylons. And he's in the water, current's running like crazy. It was actually a really scary moment. It was a rough day yesterday, but today's been better. So,
you know what? Something about me, water's fun, but water's dangerous. And I think it was Gilbert Arenas, maybe. There was somebody that made this profound statement long ago that's like, I have never once seen a shark attack ever. And people are like, what do you mean? There's shark attacks all the time. I'm like, I have never been sitting in my living room and have a shark jump through my window and eat me. And I was like, fair enough. We go out there into their waters and something happens. It's no different than somebody breaking into your house. So I think that was Gilbert Arenas. It was a wise thought. I was like, I'm no fish when I swim. I'm a big guy. I kind of sink more than I float. Give me one of those big rafts, a beer. I'm good with that. That's all I really need. I tried to do one of those jet skis where you lay down and then you pop up, get onto your knees and get onto your feet. That was the hardest 2 hours, and my body hurt the next day so much. But anyways, people don't want to hear about our water fiascos, but I'm glad everybody's okay. Justice, why don't you give us some recent portal news from the G5?
So it's really been slow the last week. The only thing I could find is wide receiver Delaney Crawford. Is committed to Ohio. He was previously at Virginia. He was a track star in high school. He came to Virginia as a quarterback. Last season, they moved him to wide receiver, but he hasn't caught any passes or anything. And so, Ohio's got it breaking in a new quarterback, Parker Navarre, and Ricky Hunt at running back. And so, maybe he just gives them another weapon there at receiver that they can utilize. Coming here into 2024, I feel like that offense as a whole is replacing a lot of parts and pieces, and so Crawford just kind of adds to that mix to kind of give them another weapon.
I agree, and when it comes to Ohio football, a lot of that offensive line left. Oh, we have not yet set them up for our interview series, but I mean that team's decimated. Ricky Hunt, a bright spot, I believe a freshman. He might be a sophomore this year. I don't know if he was able to keep his red shirt or
not. Yeah, he only played in the bowl game, so he'll be a redshirt freshman.
Redshirt freshman. He was talented, went off in that bowl game, but if you don't have a line to block, I mean, what's it really look like for Ohio and Ricky Hunt this next year?
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
So our main topic today is going to be EA Sports ranking and the G5. So the college football um, came out with their top 25 rankings. So we decided let's look at those rankings. They had like the toughest places to play, top offenses, top defenses. Uh, and they're just kind of like a power ranking of the team. So we Justice went in there. He picked out the G5 teams that are in there, and then we decided, hey, if we were to add maybe not into the top 25, but what are other like toughest places to play? What are other top defenses? What are other top offenses? Things like that. So that's what we're going to do today. Justice, why don't you take it away with what EA top 25 toughest places to play G5 team cracked the lineup there?
Yeah, so last week EA Sports did what they're calling their rankings week, where they released these rankings like I think it was one a day. And the game comes out I think July, I want to say 16th, 17th, I think, something like that. So they're trying to build up hype for the game. First game since 2014. I know I'm definitely looking forward to it. The only thing I'm not looking forward to is I have to buy a system to be able to play it because I have a PS4, I don't have a PS5, and I don't have an Xbox either. So not looking forward to that. But so first up is the toughest places to play. And the only G5 school in the EA Sports top 25, they come in at number 24, is Albertson Stadium, Boise State.
All
That
right.
that makes sense, right? I mean, I think we both think there's others that should have made the list, but you can't necessarily argue with Boise State being on the list. I don't. I personally don't know if I'd consider it the toughest place of all G5, but it's one of the top ones for sure.
So one that I would have put in there would have been Kid Brewer Stadium for App State, Boone. That place can get to rocking. I've never been there, but I've see it on TV, and it looks like it would be a tough place to play. So I would go with App State.
Yeah, that one for me, if I was to say, okay, which one is my number one? I think I would put App State and Kid Brewer Stadium as my number one for top or toughest places to play in the G5. So after Kid Brewer Stadium, another one that I feel like is really tough is Bridgeport Stadium, JMU. We've mentioned it numerous times. What we talked about when we had JMU Sound Off on, but they're a solid team. They pack it. The fans are loud. They're rowdy. Every time they score, they're throwing streamers, and so they even do that in away stadiums as well. I think they got in trouble. I think maybe it was Coastal Carolina last year for doing it. But yeah, I mean, Bridgeport Stadium, JMU, definitely one of the toughest places to play in the G5. And then for me, like after that, I feel like all of the academies, are tough places to play just because they have such a huge cadets, students, whatever you'd like to call them, audience, captive audience, if you will. And I think so. All those are hard to play. That'd be Falcon Stadium at Air Force, the Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium there for Navy, and then Mitchie Stadium for Army. I feel
It
like
doesn't matter how bad or good the teams are. Like it's a
yeah,
packed house all the time.
all three of
And
those I feel like are tough.
and then so I had Falcon Stadium on there as well, but I had it for a different reason. Like part of it is because you have the kind of the built-in fan base that's going to be there, but then it's in Colorado. I mean, if you don't know
Yep.
that Air Force is in Colorado, it's in Colorado. Just, like people talk about playing at Mile High Stadium, like it's the same thing. So you have to go to the stadium that's in Colorado, tough place to play. You've got, no matter if they're bad or good, a sold out place. beautiful scenery, but then they play that offense that it's really hard to prepare for. So there's all these combination of things that go into that. The other one that I put in there was Wyoming and War Memorial Stadium. It's Laramie, Wyoming. Usually windy. I don't know for sure, but I believe there's no real good like airport around there. So I feel like there's this a long trip. You you get off and then you have a long trip there. I mean, was it Texas Tech that lost at Wyoming this last year?
Yeah.
Um, like they run the ball, they play good defense, they play good offense. It's a windy, it's hard to get there. He kind of lulls you to sleep, and that's kind of what they got there. They got Wyoming football. So I put them as one of those toughest places to play as well.
I would, and that was a good point about airports. When I made the list, I thought about it, but yeah, I did that like I don't know 5 6 hours ago. Um, and that is an excellent point, just because the air is so different. So
Wyoming too.
yeah, I mean, it's just hard for your body to get used to that, right? I mean, I would, I would, I think I would put App State, put Kid Brewer, Bridgeforth, and Falcon Stadium above Albertson Stadium, in terms of my personal ranking of top G5 toughest places to play.
Yeah, I would too, because I feel like if I am a athlete going to there, I want to go play on that Smurf turf. Like I'm excited to go there. Like a tough place to play. Like I don't want to go there. Like do you want to go to this place with this like hostile crowd and this and this? Like no, but like oh no, I want to go play there. Well, is that a tough place to play? I don't know.
I mean, I think it's tough. I just don't think it's the toughest. It's like it. I think the argument is top five. But EA Sports saw it as the toughest in the G5. So
All right, well, let's move over to our offense. EA Sports top 25. Memphis Tigers come in at number 19. Justice, who else do you feel like needs to be up there?
I mean, I think I would agree with them. I think Memphis is probably the top G5 offense. But you can certainly make a case for others. So one of the others I included was the Boise State Broncos. Right, they're another team that you know has Ashton Jeanty, a Heisman hopeful. They got Malachi Nelson coming over from a USC. Quarterback battle, but I think everyone assumes that Malachi Nelson will win that job. And even behind Jeanty, they have a stable of really, really good running backs. Breezy Dubar, and Sire Gaines is a true freshman. And that doesn't even count Dylan Riley, who's another high recruit that'll be there in the fall. At receiver, they got Prince Strawn, Cam Camper coming over from Indiana, Chris Marshall coming from Texas A&M / Old Miss / JUCO. Just looks like an offense that's really primed to have a good year. Boise, along with Memphis, is one of the favorites to represent the G5 in that automatic playoff spot here coming in 2024. So Boise State was someone I felt like could have been in there as well. And then Appalachian State would be my next team behind Boise State. The Mountaineers, I would, rank them third. Memphis, Boise State, Appalachian State, I feel like are the three best teams in all of G5 football. Appalachian State returns Joey Aguilar. They got Caden Robinson, who's moving to the slot. Folks that might not be familiar with App State, might think back to, App State's known for running the ball and playing great defense, and that's absolutely true. But if you didn't see them last year, they really opened up that offense in terms of passing. Joey Aguilar had over 3,000 yards. I don't remember the exact number. Caden Robinson was just under 1,000 yards. And I just look for that offense to be really, really rolling this year with the passing game and the running game too. They always have a great stable of running backs. So Appalachian State was another team I felt like, should have been in the top offenses for the G5.
All right, some offenses that I put in there. where UNLV and that go-go, what is it? Go-go
Go offense.
offense.
Yep, go offense.
I mean, they're bringing in a new quarterback. It looks like it's going to be a battle. Bringing Holy Cross's quarterback. Why am I thinking of his
Matt
name?
Sluka.
Sluka. So he might take over. We'll see. They've got Ricky White, I believe, there, and high flying. I guess kind of offense, fast pace, go. I think they'll have a chance to. They almost won the Mountain West this last year. They'll have a good team put together this year. Another one that plays good defense is NIU. NIU still looking for their quarterback. I mean, they might have it picked over, but it's not going to be a high flying offense. It's going to be run the ball.
But they got one of the best rushing offenses.
They have, and they've got a great defense. They've got a good defensive line that can let the linebackers do what they need to do in a pretty good secondary. So NIU, I think, they're probably not a top offense in the sense of you don't know their quarterback, but I don't really know if it matters who their quarterback is, as long as they dink and dunk and move their way down the field and they can snap the ball. And then if they get anything above that, then it's a really good offense. So I think NIU would be a sneaky team that I would put in there for top offenses because they can run the ball really, really good.
Yeah. UNLV, like you said, the quarterback battle, Matt Sluka coming from Holy Cross. They bring over also Haj Malik Williams from Campbell. Haj Malik was there for the spring. Matt Sluka wasn't. Matt Sluka's on campus now. But, yeah, I mean, Ricky White, Jacob DeJesus, like you said, last year they really surprised folks. So that's definitely a sneaky good offense in the G5. The next on my list is the Texas State Bobcats. They're known for offense. What holds them back, or what held them back really last year, was defense. But G.J. Kinney, their head coach, had an amazing offense at Incarnate Word. He brought that over to Texas State last year, and they improved their quarterback. They bring in Jordan McLeod, the reigning Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year, to take over at quarterback for them. They got Ishmati at running back. They got Joey Hobart, Cole Wilson at wide receiver. This is just a high flying, high scoring offense. Super exciting. One of the favorites in that Sun Belt West. The big question mark for them is their defense, but I don't think anyone questions that offense there at Texas State under Coach Kinney.
Mine that I want to bring up is Liberty. You got to have Liberty up there because they're not winning games mainly because of their defense. They're winning it because of their offense. Salter's out there slinging the ball around. They bring in Dante Lee. Was he a D2 player?
I think FCS.
FCS player, brings him in. Bring in was it Mobley from Coastal Carolina? So
Elijah Canyon from Purdue.
Yep. So they'll have some weapons there. They've got a stable of running backs. Honestly, if one guy goes down, is it Cooley? Right, Cooley is there.
Cooley's number one. Yeah.
And you got Lucas as the number 2. You got Von Blue, was a freshman last year who people were really excited about. So they've got guys that's the big part, is like which teams can have depth on these offensive line positions and whatnot that can get you through. Kind of like what Florida State had. You lose a quarterback, can you get not lose a beat? I think Liberty is one of those teams that can put something together, and they could be the representative of the G5, and it's going to be because of that offense.
Yeah, I mean, that offense is so efficient under Coach Jamie Chadwell. I mean, he did it for years at Coastal Carolina, and he's got that system humming there at Liberty.
The other team that I'll mention before. No, you got 2 more, right?
Yeah, I got 2 more.
Okay, yeah. All right.
So my next team, I would say like a mirror image of Texas State. Like the offense is awesome, the defense is not so great, at least last year. And that's the South Florida Bulls. They brought in like Texas State, a new coach, Alex Golesh, coming over from Tennessee, took over last year. The offense looked really good under him. You got Byron Brown at quarterback, Naquan Wright at running back, and then Sean Atkins is kind of their top receiver. think he was the first 1,000-yard receiver in South Florida history, which seems insane to me. But because they've had some really good offenses in the past, But Byron Brown, one of the best G5 college football quarterbacks in the nation, can do it with his arm, do it with his legs. So I think South Florida, purely from an offense perspective, is definitely one of the best offenses in the G5.
And if you don't know about South Florida, you need to find out about them. They're going to be a good team this year. Monday, we're doing our
tomorrow morning,
G5.
8 a.m.
Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., G5 Hive. We did our interview with play-by-play guy there for South Florida Bulls. So come find out about South Florida. They're going to be a team that you're going to want to know about, and they are fun to watch. They are high-flying, just like Tennessee, but at South Florida. And something they mentioned here in the next couple of years, they'll be getting a new stadium. I believe it's on campus.
Stadium. Yep.
So that'll bring another thing, because there's something about just having your stadium on campus versus travel to it. So another team that I want to mention is Rice. Rice has 20 of 22 players coming back. The only person that they lose on the offensive side of the ball is their left tackle. They feel pretty good that they got that covered. So you bring a lot of continuity in this transfer portal age. You don't lose a lot. You bring in E.J. Warner from Temple. Yes, Warner. You might know the name. Kurt Warner's son. Kurt Warner, NFL Hall of Fame quarterback. He goes to Rice. You're going to have a couple wide receivers there. McNeil. Is it
Ransom?
Landon
Ransom.
Landon Ransom. And then you've got I just wrote about him in one article. Why am
Dean
Connors. Dean Connors, and then Bowden
Grown.
I'm awful with names right now. I'm just coming back from my weekend off, so I'm a scatterbrained. But they've got a lot of things to really like, and I think they're going to be efficient, and that defense is going to be good. Spoiler alert, they're in my top defenses too. So I think they're going to get a lot of really good field position. I think they're going to score. I think E.J. Warner is going to toss the ball around. Wheels up for Rice Owl football.
So the last team I had to pick somebody from the MAC, so I went with the Toledo Rockets. They've been one of the best teams in the MAC year in, year out. Last year with DeQuan Finn, Penny Boone, but this year it's going to be Tucker Gleason leading the way for them. Also a dual threat like DeQuan Finn. They got Jacquez Stewart returning at running back, Juwan Newton, and some others there at receiver. And I think they're one of the better offenses in the MAC. And so I wanted to include a MAC team here in the top offenses. And for me, the top in the MAC is Toledo.
And then they're an honorable mention for me. They're not there, but they could put some things together, and that's North Texas. You bring in TCU quarterback Chandler Morris, not to be confused with their quarterback from last year, Chandler Rogers, who transfers to Cal. They must have a thing for Chandlers, can only be quarterbacks or something. I'm not so sure. But Chandler Morris, he was the starter for TCU 2 years ago in their run to the championship, but he got hurt early in the year, and Max Duggan comes in there and then does well enough. He doesn't let go of the reins. Obviously, good decision. TCU makes it to the championship. And then the following year, he wins the job again, but gets hurt. And I'm trying to think of the guy that took over there. Josh Hoover takes over there. So the guy wins the TCU job twice, but just gets hurt. So if he can stay healthy at North Texas, I think that bodes well. You got Landon Sides there. You've got Damian Ward. You've got DT Sheffield. He was at, I believe, Incarnate Ward, transfers to Washington State, and then now he's over at North Texas. This is a team that could be sneaky explosive here in 2024.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's move over to the defenses, and EA's top G5 defenses, none. Believe that? None.
Yeah, that's kind of a travesty, I feel like. I mean,
I
there were defenses and that ranked in the top 10 in total defenses from the G5 last year. Now, a lot of them have some changes, but I find it hard to believe that they don't think there's a single defense top 25. But
Well, educate EA Sports, educate our listeners. Who do you think should be in there for defense?
so I put Air Force Falcons. They were, I think, number 8 last year in terms of total defense for the entire country. Um, and I realized they were replacing a lot. They got to replace Trey Taylor, who's now Las Vegas Raider. They got to replace Bo Richter, who's a Minnesota Viking. But I feel like the academies in general aren't someone that I get too concerned about in terms of lost production because of the systems they run. And I feel like Air Force is going to be another top defense coming into this year. And then certainly their offense helps that, right? You know, they run the ball a lot. They maintain possession of the ball. So it keeps their defense well rested. And I don't see that changing any for Air Force. You know, I think Air Force probably finishes the top 25 defense again this year in all of college football in terms of total defense, despite having to replace a lot of production this year. So they were the top ones that kind of stood out to me.
And I went with Rice. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but Rice, brings back a lot of continuity. They had a lot of younger guys that now have more experience. You got a pretty good secondary there. I probably should elaborate more on Rice because people don't know about Rice, but I'm going to let them do their talking for me this season and make sure you catch a Rice football game. I guarantee they will be a good team this year and a fun one to watch.
And it's another episode that's coming out this week on our Worker Bee series. So
Perfect.
you want to learn more about Rice? Absolutely. Like you said, I think they're returning 20 of 22 starters. One of those is the quarterback, but they bring in EJ Warner, which I would say is an upgrade over JT Daniels. But yeah, Rice is a strong contender in the American, kind of a dark horse in my opinion to play Memphis in that championship game. This next team, I understand why they wouldn't be included. Is Detroit Trojans. They've been a strong defense for a number of years, but they lost their entire coaching staff, and I'll let Luke talk about that here in a second. But they've been a strong defense. I think they have some good pieces there at Troy, and I look for them to be another really good quality defense there in the Sun Belt.
And good segue into Tulane. I picked Tulane. Why not? Troy's been a top team defense there in the Sun Belt for a while now. Well, why do I care about Troy? Well, that whole team practically is over at Tulane now. And then you get, transfers. This is on the offensive side of the ball. You get guys from USC, you get people from Oregon. So you're starting to bring in some high profile recruits and transfers here at Tulane on top of the great guys that you had over at Troy. Now we'll see how, like, on paper it looks good. We'll see how it goes out there on the field. But what they got together, I expect this to just be Troy South, I guess. Down there, if you're not sure where Tulane is in Louisiana, not too far from New Orleans. Tulane, Green Wave, get to know them.
So next on my list is the South Alabama Jaguars. They finished in the top. I don't remember exactly where, but I know it was top 20 in terms of total defense last season. And I think the offense this year will be even better. And I think the defense will be just as good. I think they are a sneaky team for the Sun Belt West. Folks are talking about Texas State and the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. It wouldn't shock me at the end of the year that South Alabama Jaguars are the Sun Belt West winners. And so, they unlike Texas State, they have a really good defense. I think, and their offense is coming up. I think it'll be much improved this year. And so, South Alabama Jaguars is someone to watch out for in the Sun Belt, and their defense is a big part of that.
Southern Miss is a team that I want to mention. Not a lot of people want to talk about anything Southern Miss, maybe except for maybe Brett Favre. I don't really know what else people would mention, but yeah,
Frank
Southern
Gore
Miss has
Jr.
Frank Gore Jr., of course, the great Frank Gore Jr. But Southern Miss's defense has a lot of guys coming back. Their offense has a lot to work with. So when you look at these box scores and you see these scores, look at the offensive side of the ball and how many 3-and-outs there were and how many short fields there were. Because like I feel like this defense is going to be out there on the field a lot, but the defense is really solid. And defensive backs, I feel like, is where they're going to make their money. Um, for that defense this year. A good defensive back squad there. Southern Miss, good defense. Stat wise, might not show it because they're going to be out there on the field a lot. But Southern Miss, shout out.
All right. So I will just my next two are both MAC schools. And these are two of the better defenses in the MAC. The Ball State Cardinals, Northern Illinois Huskies. You mentioned the Huskies in your offense, and they are definitely a top rushing offense. And Northern Illinois is kind of like the Air Force of the MAC, right? They want to run the ball and play great defense, and this year is no different. They look to have one of the best defenses in the MAC, and the same can be said with Ball State. Ball State offense, I think, will be improved this year. But both of these defenses, I want to say we're in the top 25, maybe top 30 of total defense last year, and they're two of the better defenses in the MAC. So, wanted to give a shout out to the MAC for a little bit of action here.
And I'll continue with the MAC love. Eastern Michigan, I'm going to put them in this top defensive side. You've got guys like Max Crosby that come from there. They're pretty good with like defensive line guys there at Eastern Michigan. Their offense might be a little bit to be desired. They bring in Cole Snyder from Buffalo to be their quarterback this year, but I think they're a team that's going to play solid defense. And then you're going to have to play Maction. You're going to have to play in the snow. It's Michigan. The defense will be pretty good here at Eastern, and I feel like they're a sneaky team to win like 9 games. I don't know what their over under is this year, but I think they could win 9 games. But I think it's going to be because of that defense. Their offense will help them win those games, but it's going to be because of that defense. So, again, if you're not familiar with Eastern Michigan, that would be a team to kind of watch out for. And if you like defensive play, check out an Eastern Michigan game on Maction.
So the last two teams, I would say, are more honorable mention for me. These two teams had outstanding defenses a year ago, but they took heavy losses between graduation and the transfer portal this offseason. So I'm not so sure how they're going to be this year. But they have been good. The first one is coming out of Conference USA, probably the top defense in all of Conference USA last season, the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. But they took some major hits in the transfer portal this offseason, so I'm a little concerned if they will be as stout this year. And then the last one, coming out of the Sun Belt, the James Madison Dukes. That defensive line that the Dukes had last year was a P4 quality defensive line. Pretty sure they led the nation in sacks last year. Very stout. They were one of the best teams against the run, but they've lost every single guy on that defensive line. They've lost linebackers. They've lost defensive backs, whole new coaching staff. And traditionally, JMU's been a really, really good defense, but I'm just not sure they're going to be up to standards this year. But I feel like they deserve to be mentioned because they both of these squads had excellent defenses last year. We'll see if they can keep things going here in 2024.
And since we're educating people on these teams, Justice, I know it's not the defensive side of the ball, but talk to me about the offensive side of the ball with Jacksonville State. Who's their coach?
Rich Rodriguez, formerly West Virginia, Arizona. I don't think where else he was at.
Michigan, Shoelace.
Michigan. That's right, Michigan.
He had
Bernard
Robinson. I mean, so they've got a really good coach there. He went to Louisiana Monroe, right?
He was at he was I think he was the OC there. Is that right? Or maybe he
I
was the head
think,
coach. I don't know.
and so
But
then he goes to Jacksonville State
he took a
here,
lot of players with him to Jacksonville State. A lot of defense.
and I believe they were not a bowl team 2 years ago, and then they go to the bowl.
Well, they were new last year, so they were new to the FBS. So
Okay.
technically, they shouldn't have been in a bowl game last year because they were in that transition phase. But because there were not enough eligible bowl teams, Jacksonville State, who had I think they had 7 wins, so they were they got to a bowl game and they won their first ever bowl game. So the same with JMU. JMU didn't win the bowl game last year, but they both got to go to a bowl game because there weren't enough teams with 6 wins. So JMU, Jacksonville State both made bowls during their transition year.
So something to know: you got a coach who's been around a lot of big programs, has a running quarterback, comes from the FCS to the FBS, and a bowl win year one. Like that's huge. So I at least wanted to educate the people in that. Now, Justice, let's get into our power rankings. EA Sports top 25 teams from the G5. Zero. Nobody.
Which is crazy, right? Because at the end of the year, there's going to be a G5 team ranked in the top 25.
Absolutely. So Justice and I put this together. We had a lot of the same teams except for one. So Justice, let's just alternate. We're gonna, we probably got a lot of the same things to highlight from these teams. Who do we think? Maybe not in order, but who do you think is one of these teams?
Memphis Tigers. I mean, they would be my favorite to represent the G5 in the college football playoffs. Like we talked last week, they played Florida State. I think they have a great shot to win that game. But even if they just keep it close, I think they are one of, from a talent perspective, I feel like they are the best team in the G5. And so yeah, Memphis Tigers. Like it actually blows my mind that they weren't in the top 25 on this list.
And Memphis Tigers with a running back that comes over, led South Carolina in rushing last year. So it's an SEC team. Comes over to Memphis as a grad transfer, I believe. Mario Anderson Jr. On our G5 Hive account, we dropped an interview with him on Saturday, so go check that out. Get to know Mario Anderson a little bit more, because that is a name that you are going to know by the end of the year. Mark my words.
Yeah, and our Worker Bee episode with Memphis dropped last week, I believe, right?
Yep.
Was it this? So
no, it was last week.
So if you want to learn more about Memphis, definitely go check that out. So who do you got? What do we got next?
Boise State. On paper, things look really good. You've got, I believe he might have been the number 1 quarterback last year in Malachi Nelson, at least one of the top ones. He was a 5-star quarterback, transfers to Boise State. You've got Cam Camper, wide receiver from Indiana, that comes over. Been injury prone or riddled, but he comes over there. You got Prince Strawn. His brother plays for Carolina now, I believe, in the pros. He's a guy to watch. You've got Chris Marshall, could have been a 5-star, definitely a high 4-star, Texas A&M. Now that I think about it, I think he was a 5-star Texas A&M wide receiver, then goes to Ole Miss, then goes to JUCO, comes here. So they've got some pieces. You've got Ashton Genty. You've got you were talking about him before. You've got, like, there's a lot of things on paper that we like about Boise State. So that is another team. If they can put all this stuff on paper out on the field, Boise State's got a good chance this year.
All right. Next up, the Appalachian State Mountaineers, favorites to win the Sun Belt. We talked about their offense earlier. The interesting thing to note about them is, they, like I said, traditionally they're known for running game and defense. Well, the first half of last year, that defense wasn't so hot. It wasn't that great. And, a surprising move. They switched defensive schemes in the middle of the year. And that defensive scheme really opened up this defense in terms of, being like we know, in terms of stopping folks, playing hard defense, being a tough defense. And so, Appalachian State will carry that forward this year. But just something that we learned when we interviewed David Ware from App State Mania on the G5 Hive is that change. You don't see that very often. A team totally change defensive schemes midseason, but they did it, and it worked out well for App State. And App State's one of the strongest teams here for the G5 here in 2024.
And then talked about them in the offensive section, but it's the Liberty Flames. They have a easy road with their schedule. They have a tough game there at Boone pretty early in the season. That will be a tough game, but if they can get past that one, it's Liberty's gonna be a hard team to keep out based off a win-loss record. I don't really have much more else to say. Offense is great, defense is fine. They're in Conference USA. It's not going to be much of a challenge for them in that conference. So, anything that you really want to talk about here, Justice?
No, I mean, I agree. I think from a record perspective, they very easily can have the best record of the G5. I don't necessarily agree from a talent perspective that they're the best team, but I mean, I think even from a talent perspective, for me, they're definitely top 5 for sure. I think I would rank them number 4, but yeah, I mean, they can definitely like you said, they're known for the offense, but the defense is adequate, and it's not a bad or terrible defense. It's actually a pretty decent defense. So yeah, Liberty Flames certainly deserves to be talked about in terms of one of the top G5 teams, and a great shot at being the representative in the college football playoffs.
All right, now let's get into our difference. This is where Justice and I have some differences.
So we wanted to talk about each conference, and so we get down to the MAC, and my favorite to win the MAC is the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. They got a really solid defense. They probably, assuming he's healthy, probably have the best quarterback in the MAC, and Brett Gabbert.
Coming off of a broken leg, might be year 6.
Yeah,
I don't think it's year 7, but he's been there for a while.
Definitely his last year of eligibility, but assuming he's healthy and can stay healthy throughout the year, I think the Miami, Ohio Redhawks are my personal favorite to win the MAC. And if Brett Gabbert sounds familiar, he is Blaine Gabbert's little brother. So yeah, give me the Redhawks there in the MAC.
And last year already feels like so far away. They were in the conference championship last year, correct?
Yes.
And Gabbert goes down with that broken leg, so they really had to makeshift that offense. They did not win, and if I'm remembering correctly, they might have won ugly. I'm trying to remember who they played.
Maybe they did.
Because they did not throw the ball very well. So then Brett Gabbert's been this staple of this offense, and then he comes back. You were able to win without him. You get him back. It's gonna be a good shot to win the MAC when you got.
So yeah, you're correct. They did. They beat Toledo in the MAC championship game. So yeah.
So that's going to be hard, but I'm going to go with NIU. They got to figure out their quarterback position. I think they do have it figured out. You're going to have a little bit of a Brock Purdy situation of dump it down, get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. It's going to come down, I think, to what I always forget his name, Travion Rudolph. There's an inside joke there. Travion Rudolph. It's going to come down to hey, can you get the ball in his hands? Can he make a guy miss? Can you take it to the house? They're going to run the ball. They're going to play solid defense, and I think that's going to be the recipe for success for NIU and taking down that MAC championship this year in 2024. Anything else that you want to add about NIU, Justice?
No, I mean, I think the MAC is probably wide open, and I think you can make a case for Toledo, right? They were in the MAC championship game against Miami, Ohio last year. I think to me the big difference is Brett Gabbert. That's kind of why I went with Miami. But yeah, certainly NIU, Northern Illinois, and Toledo, you can make cases for either of those teams as well.
All right. So if you are looking for more G5 college content, please check out our lineup of teams over at the College Huddle. They have articles, podcasts, YouTube shows, and plenty more of content for the G5 college football fans.
And if after that you still want more G5 college football content, we've referenced it numerous times tonight, but we encourage you to go check out our other G5 college football show, the G5 Hive, at G5 Hive on X and YouTube. We're currently producing our Worker Bee series, where we deep dive into the landscape of G5 college football with the folks that know the teams the best. We interview beat reporters, super fans, school podcasts, and even student reporters to get all the skinny on the G5 teams they cover. Several episodes are available now on the G5 Hive YouTube channel and in podcast form on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. This past week, we released episodes covering the Wyoming Cowboys, the East Carolina Pirates, the Western Michigan Broncos, the Memphis Tigers, and the Texas State Bobcats. And coming up this week, it's the South Florida Bulls, Rice Owls, Marshall Thundering Herd, Louisiana Raging Cajuns, and the Buffalo Bulls. So it's a Bulls on parade kind of week. We start and end the week with the Bulls. So go check it out.
All right. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're listening to us in podcast form, please rate and review. With that, we wish you that all your field goals be right down the middle and that your favorite team always gets the W. Until the next time, we are the G5 Huddle, and thank you for your support.